Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share one of my very favorite subgenres of fountain pens, and I wonder if you can guess what that is by looking at these pens. If you guessed flex fountain pens, you would be correct. So I have a small obsession with flex fountain pens, and over the past year I've collected a fair number of them, from entry level to higher end, modern to vintage, and I thought that I would just show you some of my favorite pens and how I use them, and we could chit chat about the pros and cons and everything flex fountain pen. So we're going to be using this absolutely beautiful paper, Tomoe River paper from Planner Monkey Co. I love this book cover, like the color of it. It's perfect. As you can see from my clip, it's one of my favorite colors. And the paper is perfection. It actually makes me sad that I missed the Tomoe River glory days, but I digress. Okay, so before we get into playing with the pens, let's very briefly talk about flex nibs. What makes a nib a flex nib? So it can be any number of things. The material, the shape, the size, but they have one thing in common, and that is that when the tines are put under pressure, they will splay apart. What does that mean? It means when you're writing on an upstroke, the tines will stay together, and on a downstroke, they'll come apart. It creates the beautiful line variation that we all associate and know and love when it comes to flex fountain pens. So this is my Magna Carta Mag 600. We will talk about this little troublemaker pen in more detail a little bit later, but as you can see, very, very flexible, very brush pen-like. So tines apart, together, apart, together, apart, together. And that is something that a typical non-flex nib just can't do. Here's a Leonardo stainless steel, and even if you're putting down pressure, it just won't create the same line variation. It's not built to, it can't do it. So I thought that I would just go through these pens in the order in which I purchased them, and then you'll kind of see the natural progression of where I ended up today. So let's get into it. The first one is this Noodler's Ahab Flex. Definitely an entry-level pen. I don't even know if I would call this a flex pen. Potentially semi-flex. It has a stainless steel Noodler's Flex nib. It's a cartridge converter model, but it can be eyedroppered. And this pen is made to be tinkered with. You can take the whole pen apart, take the nib off, the feed off. It's an ebonite feed, which means you can heat set it to get a good fit with the nib. And ebonite feeds are typically preferred for flex fountain pens because they provide a lot of ink. And flex pens usually put down a lot of ink. So to avoid ink starvation or railroading, which I will point out if it happens, ebonite feeds are typically what people look for. So you can see here that there's a little bit of line variation, but not too much. If I really pay attention, you can get more. Here are lines with no pressure. Here are lines with pressure. So you can see there's a little bit of flex. This ink is Noodler's Rose Coral. I will note that this pen body is made of a celluloid derivative, and some people absolutely despise the smell. It smells like when you walk into a skating rink or a bowling alley. I don't know if it's the shellac on the floor or if it's the used shoes, but that's kind of the smell we're talking about here. Mine still smells after a year. It doesn't bother me, but it is there. So now my interest was definitely piqued and I wanted something more flexible. So I went for Fountain Pen Revolution. I'd heard amazing things about Fountain Pen Revolution. I was not disappointed. This is their cartridge converter flagship model, the Himilaya V2. It has a stainless steel Fountain Pen Revolution Flex nib. These nibs are made in India, where the Magna Carta Flex nibs are made. Just kind of an interesting side note. It has an absolutely massive ebonite feed. Sometimes this feed actually will hit the paper when I'm writing because I think I have a low writing angle. I mean, that's really big. And yeah, it comes with a converter. So you will see that this pen is much more flexible than the Noodlers. This actually has an ink in it that was giving me a lot of problems. It's Diamine Moonbeam, and I got it in a surprise ink sampler from Atlas Stationers. When I posted in the Fountain Pen Facebook group, several people had the same experience. They were unable to use this ink. I couldn't even use it in a TWSBI, but I am able to use it in this Flex pen, which is nice. It's a kind of like a high shimmer ink from one of their Color Vent ink advent calendars. So you can clearly see the flex that's happening there, the beautiful line variation and the ink pooling. It's a great pen. I think this is about $45. Next, I got the Fountain Pen Revolution flagship piston model. This is the Jaipur, and it has an ink window, which is helpful, especially with flex pens when you're going through so much ink. It has a blind cap on the piston knob. And actually, I didn't realize that it had this because the whole reason I wanted to get a piston pen, flex pen, was because sometimes you need to advance the feed to get it going, and I thought that doing that with a piston model would be easier versus having to take off the pen body and mess with the converter, but luckily I usually don't have to do that with this pen. This, the piston version is a little bit more expensive than the cartridge converter version, but they're both very nice. This nib is extremely smooth. I don't know if it's just the nib itself or the fact that it's a piston fill. I mean, this one has a silver stainless steel nib. The other one is a two-tone, but yeah, you can see how smooth that is. And once it dries, you'll be able to see the insane shimmer. The ink is Christmas Star from the Colorburst Color Vent calendar. Really pretty. Speaking of the Colorburst Color Vent calendar, when I purchased it from Fountain Pen Revolution, they were the only retailer that was having a sale for Black Friday that included the calendar, and I got this little flex fountain pen for free. This is the Fountain Pen Revolution Indus. It has a smaller 5.5 stainless steel flex nib. It has a regular plastic feed. It's also a piston model, which is great because there's no blind cap. You can just advance the feed right from the back. And actually, I've been really impressed with this little pen. This has Diamine Grotto in it right now, which is a high sheening ink. But it's great. It's feels like it has a finer line. And it's just kind of easier to control in a way. But you can still get some nice line variation, and it's nice and responsive. So it's a great pen. And you know, some of the really great flex pens have smaller nibs, like the 742 that we'll talk about with the number 10 nib, or the vintage pens. So I don't think a larger nib necessarily always means more flex. So those are my fountain pen Revolution pens, and the next flex pen that I happened upon was at the Detroit Pen Show when I was at a vintage pen table trying out some pens. And at this point, I'd heard so much about vintage flex being the gold standard and the unicorn, wet noodle vintage flex pens. So I was kind of all revved up to get a vintage flex pen. And this one was marked as a flex, and it was a Waterman's, which I'd heard great things about, but I don't think this is a flex pen. I would say maybe like a semi-flex at best. So just because something is described as flex, or should be because it's vintage, doesn't mean that it is. So you can see here, there just isn't much line variation happening. And when you put down pressure, it flexes a little bit, but not much. It does have a Waterman's 14K ideal nib. And yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, actually. I paid a lot of money for this pen. So it's a Waterman's Commando body, but a Waterman's 100-year pen cap. So it's not the same model. It dries out a lot, and it's not flexible. So I guess I just wandered up to that table and was ready for the taking. But crisis was averted when I shortly thereafter purchased a different Waterman's vintage pen from a lovely acquaintance I made on the Reddit Pen Swap. And this is actually one of my favorite flex pens. This is a Waterman's Vintage 52, and it's so lovely. It just has such a different feel to it compared to modern pens. Oh, see, I didn't do that with like no pressure. It's springy. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain. It has amazing snapback. I mean, it literally feels like a spring. And once this dries, you'll see the beautiful line variation that you can get. It's amazing. And this has Birmingham Pen Company Snapdragon in it, which is one of my favorite pinks, and it's actually, perfectly enough, one of their delicate formulas, which means that it's safe for vintage fountain pens, because these vintage fountain pens, many of them have a lever system, which means that inside there is an ink sac or an ink bladder. You have to be careful about the pH of your inks so that it doesn't injure or destroy the ink bladder, which can be replaced, but then you're doing a restoration basically. Anyway, it's a beautiful pen. Beautiful, beautiful. That brings us to my Magna Carta saga. So I got this from the Atlas Experienced Pen Sale, which they have every month, where they sell pens that have been returned but are in perfect working order, or should be. And so when I saw this, I wanted a Magna Carta for a while, and I jumped on it, and it has given me trouble ever since I got it, which is really unfortunate because there's really nothing else that I've found that's like this pen. But basically, it will not write unless it is touching ink on the paper. It's almost like a baby bottom situation. I'm not sure what is going on, if there's like a misalignment. Other people have experienced the same thing. I've seen YouTube videos talking about this exact same issue, and I have heard that Magna Carta fixed this with their most recent updated nib. So would I buy another Magna Carta? Yes, it is on my list. I want to get the $6.50, which is like the smaller version, but I will only get it from a store that has a really good return policy, because my experience has been that Magna Carta customer service is non-responsive, and it's really too bad because, like I mentioned, it's an amazing nib and I haven't found anything else like it. So that's why I put up with it. But yeah, this is a cartridge converter. You can eyedropper this pen, and I did try that in the past. I might try it again because somebody that I follow on YouTube did that and said that it helped their issue a lot. So I did try it. It didn't seem to do that much, but I'm willing to give it another shot. That's the Magna Carta. I think I paid $350 or $400 for this pen used, so you know, that's a lot. And I guess one lesson learned is maybe don't buy very delicate nibs that have been returned by somebody for an unknown reason when there's no return policy for that type of pen. Okay, and then we'll end on a happy note. After my Waterman's 52, this is probably my favorite, if not my top favorite flex pen. The trusty Pilot Custom 742 with the number 10 FA 14K nib. It's such a joy to write with. I mean, Pilot can do no wrong in my book. I love all of my Pilots. I think that when I think about it, they are my favorite pen brands. I mean, the ones that I reached for the most. Did I leave the sticker on this pen because I can't tell it apart from my other black Pilots? Maybe. Do I still reach for this pen more than all of my other flex pens? Yes. The quality is just unmatched, and it's just the feel, it's the luxury of it, it's the fact that you don't have to fight with it. It's just perfect all the way around. This is a converter model. It has a plastic feed, which I have not had any problems with, but some people do say that they have ink starvation issues, and a lot of people go to the flexible nib factory to get a replacement feed, like an ebonite feed or something like that. So yeah, highly recommend. And then I guess I have a couple of honorable mentions, and we'll actually go in with another Pilot. These aren't necessarily flex pens, but I did want to mention it. So this is a Pilot Custom 74 with a soft fine nib. I actually got this pen from the same woman that sold me the Waterman's 52, and I use this pen a lot. She described this as a gateway flex fountain pen, and I have to agree. So it's not a flex, but it's a soft nib, which means that it's just really responsive, and you get some nice ink and line variation, but you can also use it for just daily writing. It's just such a great nib. I try not to push it too far because you don't want to spring your non-flex nibs or your flex nibs, which means that the tines splay apart and they never really come back together. Next up, I wanted to mention that Fountain Pen Revolution sells their nibs standalone. So if you have an independent maker pen with the Jovo nib, number 6, you can swap out the number 6 nib for a number 6 Fountain Pen Revolution nib, which is what I did here. So this is a Myers Pen Company Modified Alpha, and yeah, you can just put a Fountain Pen Revolution nib in. It's not going to be quite as flexy as if you buy you know, an entire Fountain Pen Revolution pen, and it also doesn't have the ebonite feed. But again, you could always get that from Flexible Nib Factory if you wanted to, or you can just kind of enjoy the softer, more flexible nib on its own. I haven't had any issues, again, with ink starvation or railroading or anything like that with a regular feed. I think it just goes to show that everyone's writing is different. So it's just like how, for me, sometimes the large feed of this hits the paper. Maybe it's just my writing angle. If it's low, the ink is up there. I don't know. If somebody knows, please let me know. And then I wanted to mention also Sailor really briefly. So a lot of Sailors have a 21K nib, and that's obviously a very soft material. This Sailor Pro Gear started off with a music nib, and I had Kirk Spear grind it to a cursive smooth italic for me because it was just simply not working. And yeah, you can see that it's just really soft, and the nib kind of flexes, and you get some interesting kind of line and ink variation. So Sailors can be, again, not flex, but soft, and can give you that kind of bounce if you're looking for that. Last up, and this might not really be a presentation, more so a question on my end, but I recently got this Leonardo Momento Zero in the Nuvola Lilac color, so beautiful, with an elastic extra fine nib. See those cutouts there? I actually have a regular extra fine Leonardo nib to compare it to. And I'm not really sure what the deal is with this pen. I mean, I guess with this nib. So I love the nib. The nib is beautiful to write with. And apologies, there's really light ink in it right now. But it's not flexible or elastic that I can tell. It's really, really nice. I love a Leonardo nib. I guess I just expected it to be softer, or maybe I'm just not pushing it hard enough. Again, this is an elastic extra fine, and I have a regular extra fine, and they feel very similar, except the regular extra fine is just, it's obviously finer. So, I don't know, am I not pushing it hard enough? Am I doing something wrong? Is it really not supposed to be soft? Because I really don't see it. Maybe I need to adjust something. Or maybe it's just the fact that it has like a broader line. Anyway, just sort of curious because I was waiting to get this one to film this video, and then once I got it, I was like, wait a second, I probably didn't have to wait to film anything because, I don't know, it just doesn't look very different to me. So those are my Flex fountain pens, and if I had to choose a favorite, again, it would be the Pilot Custom 742 with the number 10 nib, or the Waterman's 52, and then a Magna Carta, but preferably one that actually works. Of course, you can't go wrong with the Fountain Pen Revolution pens, but these just feel extra special to me. I also love the Pilot Custom 74, and yeah, those are the ones that I reach for the most. Please let me know if I'm missing any Flex fountain pens from my lineup. I don't have any on the list besides the Magna Carta Mag 650 and perhaps a vintage pen if I happen upon one that is a Holy Grail Flex, but I'm not aware of any others that I should try. So if you know of any, please let me know so I can add them to my wish list. that's it. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.